very satisfying, when you fix something that comes in that you had no idea what the issue was, and then it gets up and running, and then the customer is like super, super happy. I don't know how to describe it, but it's satisfying. So definitely like an endorphin rush.
Yeah.
When it boots up when it wasn't before.
Thank you for listening to the Online Business Spotlight. Remember to hit subscribe on whatever platform you're using. Thanks. Hey, how's it going, Jesse?
Hey, Joseph, how's it going?
Yeah, so I'll do my little intro real quick. Welcome
Sure.
to the Online Business Spotlight, where we talk to real online entrepreneurs that have quit their 9-to-5 and have started working on their own terms using the internet. Joining us today is Jesse Cruz, who is the owner of VCC Repair.
VCC board repairs,
Yeah.
actually.
The owner of VCC Board Repairs. So, how's it going, Jesse?
Pretty good.
Yeah, so I can see you're kind of in your, looks like your shop.
Yeah, this is my lab, so to speak.
So you recently moved to Vegas, right?
Yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit about, what your company is and what made you want to move to Vegas?
Right, yeah. So I basically offer mail-in repairs for iPhones, but it's not just regular repairs that most repair shops do. We specialize in motherboard repairs. So imagine an iPhone that doesn't turn on, or doesn't charge, or doesn't have touch. Those are usually motherboard issues, like at the component level. So we specialize in that, which requires micro soldering, which is working with stuff through a microscope and a soldering iron and stuff like that. So that's basically what we do. Our main clientele is repair shops. So like repair shops will outsource this job to us, because many repair shops don't offer that in house. So that's basically what we do. But yeah, I mean, we originally started off in Los Angeles. We're in Montebello, California, which is like 15 minutes east of like downtown LA, and yeah, we got so busy, and my lab and over there in LA was actually my living room. So it was all based from home. I converted my like dining room basically into my lab, and it was like a small like duplex we were living in, and we just outgrew it. And as you may know, Los Angeles is like housing is expensive, everything's expensive. So we started looking elsewhere, like where else can we do this from. It's all online basically. So if we could do it from anywhere, why not just move to somewhere with lower cost of living? So yeah, we decided Las Vegas. It's like half the price of LA, and it's close by. So in case we do want to go back, it's just like a 4-hour drive. But yeah, that's kind of a quick summary.
Yeah, so do you have family in Los Angeles?
Yeah. I mean, we kind of have a small family, so yeah, just like my parents, my brother, they're all there. We have distant family too in LA too, but
Cool.
I have a cousin here in Las Vegas, but we don't really talk.
Nice. Yeah, so looks like based on what I've seen from your Facebook post, it looks like you got a little bit more square footage for your office there.
Yeah, a lot more room. I mean, I now have like an actual dedicated room just for this. Like I said, we're in the in the dining room before, and that was a smaller place. It was like 750 square foot house, like duplex, and the dining room was a big portion of that. So
yeah.
and no privacy either. So like if somebody came, they saw like, you know, all my tools and everything just like right there out in the open.
Yeah. Cool. So you're pretty much going to the post office daily, or do you have a set day that you kind of do all that?
Yeah, so we actually use UPS. We have a UPS store mailbox, you know, so it's like a private mailbox. It's a lot. We feel it's a lot safer to ship there because, you know, it's a store that someone manages, and, you know, no matter what packages, you know, someone's always there to, you know, collect the packages and, you know, secure them for me in case, you know, I'm not around. So yeah, it's a daily trip. You know, around 1 or 2 p.m. we go and, you know, drop off packages and pick up. Luckily, my UPS store here, they also do USPS, so you know, shipping. So I was actually, like, the whole time I was using USPS for shipping. So what I would do is make the labels here, go drop them off over there, and then pick up my packages and bring them back. But recently, you know, in December, I don't know if you heard about the really bad USPS shipping times and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
so
experienced it.
yeah, I'm sure. I think everyone did.
Yeah.
I had you know, a few packages that were like lost for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and, you know, customer were freaking out. So yeah, so now we use UPS for shipping, which is maybe a few dollars more expensive, but it seems a lot more reliable. But yeah, it's basically a daily trip, you know, including Saturdays. So so on these Sundays, just because they're closed, we don't do any shipping. But you know, I still work on Sundays as well.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it's I ended up ordering some game or something for a friend,
Mm-hmm.
and it came out of Los Angeles, I believe. And the shipping was, you know, what happened is that it ended up updating and saying, you know, it'll be there tomorrow, but then it said that for like 3 weeks. So,
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they couldn't handle the Christmas, you know. Well, I think just like in general, there's been more shipping because of the whole like pandemic thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So everyone's buying online, and then plus Christmas, it's just too much for for them.
Cool. Yeah, so do you get most of your work from Facebook or just from like your website stuff?
Yeah, I mean, most of my work comes from Facebook. So there's like these repair shop Facebook groups that, you know, repair shops go and ask questions, you know, ask for help. And I'm super active in there, so everyone like knows me, like, oh, this guy does, you know, board repairs. So yeah, I get messages daily. Like, I would say maybe 2 to 3 new people a day messaging me, like new repair shops, and then just my usual clients, you know, message me nonstop all day, like, hey, how much to fix this? How much to fix that?
Yeah.
So that's where most of my customers come from. I do have, you know, my own website where people who just Google and find me. So I would say maybe like 3% of customers come through there, but those are usually just like regular end users that you know, can find a shop near them who offers the service. So
yeah. So I think a few years ago, the biggest repair item for you was the iPhone 7. What would you say your biggest repair item is now?
I would say still the iPhone 7 audio IC. I still get so many of those a week, you know.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe too, because it's like, I mean, it's a pretty involved repair, and I mean, the phones themselves are pretty old at this point.
Yeah. People, I don't know. It seems like iPhone users like to stick with their phone for longer periods of time. You know, they have, you know, a 2-year-old iPhone. They could pay, you know, $100 to $200 or something to fix it, or they can upgrade to the new one, which is like $1,000. You know, $1,200, $1,400 nowadays.
Yeah.
So they see the repair as a more economical option, and then it's just less hassle if you just keep using your same phone rather than if you get a new phone, you have to transfer all your data and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
I
like
think that's what happens.
yeah, it's like your only option is either get the brand new one for $1,000 or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the other option that a lot of people don't think about is just buy the same or similar one, used, but then
Yep.
there's always a lot of risk because there's just so many people who sell like really bad condition, problematic phones that it's kind of hard to find a trusted seller of a used phone. So that's kind of what they what they have to consider as well. So
Yeah, like you could go on Swappa and try to find a phone, but and they're pretty decent prices, but you have no idea what people have done to them.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've actually seen some like pretty like some horror stories. Like the phone, they sell it like new, but you open it up, there's like parts missing. All these like everything's been swapped out with aftermarket parts, or just like is water damaged, but it's still working somehow. So
barely, yeah.
Yeah.
I ordered a iPhone 5 SE, or I guess it's just the SE.
SE, yeah, first generation.
Yeah, for my grandma, and on eBay.
Yeah.
And it ended up being, it was in a brand new sealed box. And so I opened it up just to check, and the screen, what was weird to me was the screen had a blue screen protector over it. And I was like, that's not very Apple,
Yeah.
That's very, yeah. And so then I opened it up, and then on the inside it had a circuit board, like, just the logic board, but it had like a little Chinese stamp on it.
Yeah.
Like it was from some, reefer person.
Right.
And so they were somehow getting the boxes and sealing them. So.
Yeah. A lot of these like wholesalers who sell like iPhones in bulk, they have the machines to like replicate the seal, the Apple seal,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy. But the iPhones are like super high in demand, so I guess it pays off for them.
Yeah. So when did you first start doing repairs, and what led you to thinking like this could actually be a business?
Yeah, so I guess the journey started around 2014. I was I think I was like I was just online and just run across Reddit's subreddit called Flipping, where they talk about buying stuff and reselling it. So I was just reading through that subreddits, for a few days, actually for a few weeks, just like constantly would read it, see people's stories about like how much money they were making, stuff like that. So I started actually giving it a try. So I would go to like Goodwill, just look for stuff, just basically look at every item and look it up on eBay, see what it sells for, and then compare the price it's selling for, and then just basically like, oh, they're selling it for $5, but you could sell it on eBay for 20. So I started just doing that, just buying random things, mostly like small appliances, like little crock pots, cake Keurigs. Those are really good actually. Like you buy the original classic Keurig machine for like $10 and then sell it on eBay for like $100. So I started doing that, and then I started kind of going into the phone part of things. So I saw people saying like, oh yeah, you could buy broken phones, like locally on Craigslist, OfferUp, fix them, and then you could sell them on eBay. And so I started doing that, started buying iPhones off people, and then just like watching YouTube to like replace the screen, and then selling it either locally as well or like on eBay. And then so I would post all my work on like Instagram. So like my friends and family started seeing like, oh, you could fix iPhones. So they started like contacting me like, hey, how much to fix my iPhone 4 screen, iPhone 5 screen? Like it was back in those days.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that kind of like got I got so many requests. I'm like, you know what? Let me just focus on this. I got tired of going to Goodwill and Salvation Army and all these other thrift stores, every day just to come back with possibly nothing. Where I could have someone come to me, I fix their phone, and then, make just the same amount of money or more. So that was maybe 26. Yeah, it was 2016 when I started to when I actually decided you know what, I'm gonna come up with a name. I'm gonna post it on, create a Instagram, a Facebook page, all the social media around it, and I went on Fiverr, paid someone like $10 to make me a logo, and yeah, I think it was October 2016. I went live, and then yeah, that's kind of where it started. And then around summer 2017, oh, by the way, I was doing this all from home, so
yeah,
I would just post online nonstop, and then people would call or text me for quotes, and then they would just come to my house. I would have them wait outside in their car, or just come back. I'd fix it and then just text them hey, your phone's ready, and stuff like that. And summer 2017 is when I started getting into the micro soldering part of things. I would watch a lot of YouTube videos about there's this guy Louis Rossmann. It's pretty popular on YouTube. I would just watch him fix MacBooks, and then came across some other YouTube channels, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna give this a try. And then probably 2018, early 2018, I started getting good enough where people started contacting me hey, I saw repair shops. I started becoming friends with them on Facebook, a bunch of repair shop owners, and I would post my work on social media, so they would contact me hey, I see you do soldering, can you fix this issue? I have an iPhone that doesn't charge or whatever. And then slowly from there it just took off. That really took off compared to any of the previous other entrepreneur things. So I think that's pretty much what happened. I think the thing that sets me apart, that really keeps me busy, is just the fact that not many people know how to solder, and iPhones have a huge defect rate as far as certain failures. They just happen so much,
and yet people keep buying them.
Yeah, I get customers that they send it to me, I fix it, and they're like, oh, so it really was some motherboard issues. They get so upset. They tell me you know what, I think I'm gonna get a Samsung next, but I don't know if they actually do.
Yeah.
But they're yeah, I've been using iPhones for years, and now this kind of. And the sad part is, often, Apple doesn't warranty these issues, so that's what really upsets people.
Yeah. I think the phones are worse than anything, specifically the 6, 7, and maybe a little bit the 8.
I think the iPhone 6 Plus, the 7 and 7 Plus, and the 10, so the newer ones with the with the notch, those have a lot of issues as well.
Okay, so what kind of issues are you running into with the 10s?
Yeah, so the iPhone 10s, they're just 10, 10s, 10s Max. Those are a new motherboard design. They're actually 2 layers. So there's the main logic board, which has the CPU and stuff, and then it's sandwiched together with another layer that are the 2 halves are soldered together. So they did this so they could have the motherboard a lot smaller and fit a bigger battery. But the problem is, these 2 halves are soldered together like a sandwich. So after a hard drop, the solder breaks between the two layers of the logic board, and then creates a ton of issues. So common stuff is like no touch. So no matter how many new screens you install, the touch doesn't work. No service. So like you have a SIM card in there, but it's just constantly searching for signal and never picks it up. And then also no Wi-Fi. So like the Wi-Fi button is just grayed out. Like you can't click it, you can't turn it on or off. So that's
Is that
like super
similar?
common.
Is that similar to the whole bending thing?
Yeah, I mean it's basically related to bending and just just a hard drop or like the phone bends and then just breaks the solder between the two layers and it creates havoc in there.
Yeah, I think the design of the 5, where it was just rigid.
Yeah.
I think that was a little better.
Yeah, the iPhone 5. That was the first. No, that was their. Yeah, that was like their first one where they made it a bigger screen, but still it was pretty solid. The iPhone 6, when they went with the round edges along the sides, they used like some really soft metal, so those would bend and then lose touch.
Yeah, and you can actually look at pictures online of this where the phone is like somebody sat on it and it's like bent.
Yeah, like a U.
Yeah.
There's if you've heard of the Unbox Therapy channel. That's where he got his start. He's basically the one that broke the news about the design flaw where he could like literally just bend it, like not even that much strength. He could just literally bend it in half.
So what was your first board repair? Was it a MacBook or a iPhone?
iPhone. I mean, I basically just do iPhone iPads. I tried at MacBooks, but it's just a whole different kind of. Well, there's a ton of different models, and there's a different type of diagnostic or repair process on that. So I don't have the experience with them. That I just been so busy with iPhones that I don't have time to try to learn MacBooks. So but yeah, as far as the first repair, I'm trying to think. I know I did a TriStar, which is the charging like controller IC on the motherboard. That was like one of my early ones. I have a picture of it in my gallery where when I go look back at it, it just looks like such a mess as far as the job. But I was successful with it. It just not as clean work as I do now. That was like one of my first repairs. I do remember also one of my early on ones was I had bought locally, like on Craigslist, a LG V20, the Android phone. I bought it with the smash screen, but it was like super cheap, and that's like the kind of phone I wanted at the time. So I bought it. I installed a new screen, and it was still not. The screen wasn't lighting up, and I was just like, I thought I got screwed over from the guy who sold it to me, but it ended up being like on the motherboard. There's like from like the connector to the nearby component. For some reason, it was just like burnt. I guess when the screen got smashed, it just like created some surge and like fried the trace from the connector to the component. So I just added a little wire, and sure enough, the phone booted up. So I remember that distinctly. That was like, because like I had nothing to go off of. I just was determined to fix it because I had just bought it and needed a new phone.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that everything you're doing is it has to be reverse engineered in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
That Apple they don't want you to do this, so there's no like documentation on it or anything.
Right, yeah. Yeah, a lot of people, I mean, that's pretty much our whole business model is just trying to reverse engineer the designs. We kind of, people over the years have like figured out, how it works. So when a new model comes out, you kind of have to use that knowledge and try to see how it's applied in this new model and stuff like that. But yeah, there's no like Apple training for this kind of stuff. There's no there's like nothing. You just have to kind of, rely on the community online that everyone's trying to investigate what's going on, and then just use your eyes sometimes to just try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are your opinions on the right to repair movement?
Yeah. So I think Apple. I think Apple does have the right to restrict people from their intellectual property. It's they designed it. It's their business. They could run it how they want. It's a private company. That's their right. It is unfortunate that the consumer is kind of screwed by that, and repair shops, because if you don't have access to some of their tools, like some components, they're paired to the motherboard, meaning if that component fails, you cannot replace it. So you could get a working, for example, the baseband chip, which is like the cellular chip. If that thing fails, you can't just get another one working from another board and put it on. It just won't work. Also, like the home buttons are paired, the Face ID components. Now, like I hear the cameras are paired too. They're like serializing so many components, so that at some point in the future, you could imagine you basically can't repair it at all, because it's all like only authorized repairs will be allowed. So it is unfortunate, but I don't think the right approach is to use legislation and these rules, regulations, to restrict them from how they operate their business, because that could lead to, because what I can imagine that could lead to is these really weird setups where like certain companies have the money and resources to, like, let's say, for example, Congress makes a law that says, oh, if you're a manufacturer, you have to release schematics, repair guides, sell parts to repair shops, independent repair shops. That's like adding additional burdens to a business, as far as like, now you have to do this extra work that you previously didn't. So Apple, they have a ton of money. They could easily do that. But let's say you're like a small time manufacturer, building stuff out of your house. Now,
Right.
Are you going to be required to then create all this extra documentation, create a store to sell parts? They just, sometimes people don't think about, the bigger pictures. How does it affect, not just the bad guys, so to speak, like Apple, but, other people are just, small time, So it does, that can lead to that world where it's, it's just more burden on a business who's trying to start up, and then the established people are just protected now. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's kind of my position on it. I feel for the people who want to support the right to repair, but I think you got to consider the other consequences.
Yeah, and I wonder about specifically in regards to the serializing of components. I wonder if there's any sort of argument you could make there in terms of if you're going to be producing things en masse. I mean, like they are, they're not just like a small company. They're making a giant impact on kind of the market and the environment even. So it's kind of like in that situation you could do you it's almost like the European Union said you got to use USB-C for their phones or whatever, which I kind of thought was stupid, but it's like the thing with the USB-C thing, like I can see why you might want to make a more universal approach to certain things that make it where they can't just have devices that are unrepairable,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think it's better to just let the like market pressure them to be more open, be more, um, like they should switch to USB-C because it's just a better technology.
Yeah.
They already did at the iPads and the MacBooks, so they were probably already on that path to USB-C on iPhones. Although I don't think it should be, mandated by law, because what if they came up with a better connector, before the Lightning connector, that was actually, better than mini USB and micro USB, where the connector is reversible both sides. It's lets you attach, a lot of accessories, and, it's like fast data rates and stuff like that. So it is, at the time that the Lightning connector, the existing, connector the iPhone has, at the time that it was released, it was a better technology. And had we mandated to use micro USB just because it's, the more prevalent, everyone else uses it, then we would have lost out on that innovation. So, I just always like to think of the things that most people don't think, because,
Well,
it's just easy to.
Any government agency, they're gonna lag behind quite a lot, and we already know these people. They're not in touch. They don't know. They don't even know anything about technology, and so for them to make a standard, I kind of found the European Union thing to be really interesting, that they would do that, because it's like you said, what if 5 years from now there's a better technology and that's restrictive? There's already an interesting issue with they have a law in the European Union where I have a camera from Sony, and it's classified as a photography camera because it's taxed less. And the way that they get around that is it can't record video for more than 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
And it's so random. It's just like, why not? Like, there's literally no difference. If you had just enabled that, it would be nice. And it's just a tax thing. So
yeah. Well, that's another thing is, tech companies will come up with loopholes as well,
Yeah.
So that's basically a loophole. They cut off at 29 minutes and 59 seconds.
Yeah.
And then now they get around this giant tax that could hit them. So yeah, stuff like that's basically that essentially hurts us in the long run, because now if you're someone recording YouTube videos, you now have to like do it in 30-minute chunks on an affordable camera, instead of, unless you spend extra on a real camcorder, then you could like record for longer. But there's negative consequences when there's like these rules that come up from up high, who are not usually people who are in touch with what you're doing.
Yeah, and another thing a lot of people don't realize is the camera thing with the iPhones. There actually is kind of a reason they do serialize them, and it's because they calibrate them, and you don't really have the equipment to calibrate them together with the board and everything. Yeah. So I could see why that's the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, their usual stance, I think, for this kind of stuff is just they want to keep the quality of the product higher. So sometimes these aftermarket parts are just garbage. Like an iPhone screen is the most common aftermarket part that people will run into, where like the screen has like a blue tint to it, or just it just looks weird. And they kind of don't want to be known for that. For like, if a lot of these low quality parts go out and people start seeing like iPhones with really bad performance, or just like, well, I guess just for performance, and it could have an impact on their business. And I don't know, I think it's a complicated topic. But in general, I lean towards just let the market pressure them to be more open. Customers should be more vocal about what they dislike about it. I think I think over the years, like their market share has actually shrunk, right? Like more iPhone, no, more Android devices are. I mean, they sell millions of phones, but their overall market share, since like more people are getting smartphones, like just in general, the market has grown, but their market share has like shrunk just because people are just opting out for more affordable Android phones,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think eventually, they can't stay on top forever. So,
Yeah.
Maybe they'll start hearing some feedback as to why people are buying other phones versus theirs. They'll consider, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they did open up the IRP, the independent repair program, where basically independent repair shops can now be like a authorized dealer, where they could get access to some of the parts and stuff like that. So I don't know, maybe they're considering doing being a little more open somehow. They'll come up with some way to kind of allow us to repair it, but I don't know.
I mean, maybe you guys can, they'll let independent repair shops do the repairs that they don't want to do or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the demand is high, like especially during the lockdowns. Apple stores across the country just shut down and literally closed, so people still had their iPhones and devices that they needed repaired. So that's where us third-party unauthorized shops really came to help, because there's the official channels weren't there. So and actually, just kind of to talk about that a little bit, is the whole like pandemic, just like business just skyrocketed. And so many repairs that just started coming in after like the March of 2020. So many. I got a ton of iPads. Like I normally don't get iPads, but just out of nowhere I was getting like, I think like at some point like 50% of the repairs were just iPads, which before were like maybe 10-20%. And people at home that are with their kids, they break them. There's charging ports break, just things fail, and they need their iPads and their phones for work, from work from home. So
so your business has grown a little bit through the pandemic. So do you have any plans in the future for where you want to take it, or?
Yeah, so I guess so. Like right now, I'm still working from home, but it is my own home now. Like I was able to purchase a house here in Vegas, which has like a dedicated office. I do like my setup because it's all mail in. I don't have any retail customers. Like being that my main customer base is repair shops, like retail shops, like brick and mortar kind of shops. I talk to a lot of these guys, and they tell me like the horror stories of just crazy customers. Sometimes, so I do like that separation of just being, kind of on my own terms. They just ship it to me. I let them know like, hey, I got your package, and then they just have to wait for me to get back to them. Like in a day or two, like, hey, your phone's fixed, and then I can ship it back.
And you're pretty quick. Last I checked, you have some pretty quick turnaround times. Yeah,
that's kind of one of the things I do to try to stand out, is just be quick. I think it's pretty common for guys who are like in my position who have like mail-in repairs from home. They just, so easy for them to get distracted with the home life and just like, I don't know. I just hear so many stories of other guys who like offering the exact same service as me, but they're just like, they take 3 weeks or more, and they just don't reply to their customers and stuff. So I get a lot of praise on that, on my quick turnarounds. But yeah, I think I do like the setup. I do want to stay from home. I don't want to open a retail shop. I know a lot of people that's kind of, who start from home and eventually want to open up a shop, like a retail shop, and grow it that way. For me, I think I'd rather stick with, online, just kind of grow the online part of things. So I have teamed up with a buddy of mine, where we do online training for this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like the lead solder coach. So like we basically have like Zoom calls twice a week where like we have students who are at their shops with their equipment, and we kind of walk through different things. Like each call is like a different topic. How to do charging ports. How to solder, because most iPads have the charging port soldered on. So like we'll walk through all the steps to desolder the old port, solder the new one. We go through like the common repairs, like the audio IC or the speaker. The audio on an iPhone 7 or 7 Plus doesn't work. So we go through that whole process, explain every step. There's a Q&A, so like students ask like, oh, why'd you do this, or why, like, how does this work, or or like they tried it and then they had an issue, so they asked like, hey, so I was trying it, but did this happen? So we kind of we mentor them, we walk them through it and stuff like that. So online training is kind of another thing I'm gonna focus on, and then just YouTube videos as well, as far as like how do some of these repairs work. Making some money through the affiliate links on my YouTube channel. So sometimes I'll do a review of a tool and then put in my affiliate links for it and other tools I use and stuff, and try to grow that as well. I think it's my two main things I want to focus on is the online training and the affiliate links through YouTube channel, through that method.
Cool. Yeah, it's interesting because I actually went to one of the trainings in person, and
Which one?
I went to Jess's.
Oh, okay, iPad rehab.
Yeah. Okay. And it's really funny because it's like you mentioned you work from home because there's no real reason for you to have a shop, and for her, she has a shop, but I mean everything's mail-in, and the only reason she has a shop is because I'm convinced that it's like she doesn't get any walk-in traffic. It's literally just a building for them to work in, and that was pretty cool. And but it's interesting that you're able to teach online, because I can see how once you get past this point of being able to solder and being able to do little things with your like the physical aspect of it, a lot of this whole process is like the actual brain work behind it, and how to actually figure out what's wrong. So.
Yeah, we actually have a lot of students that went to iPad rehab. So one of the differences between the program I'm in and the other like in-person courses is that in person you have like 5 days, right, where you're just there all day, going through it. But once you're gone, like once those 5 days are done, then you're kind of on your own. There's like some like forums and groups that are exclusive for the students, but it's not the same. You're kind of on your own. Whereas the program I'm in, it's actually a 90-day program. So it's like you pay for the course. You get instant access to like a training portal, which is kind of like just like a step-by-step, like if you follow the training portal, video by video, it'll get you up to speed to kind of get you up to speed as if you were at the in-person course. You do the basics, how to set up your soldering station, how to remove a component, place it, some common repairs. That's like the training portal. And then on top of that, we have the twice a week solder calls where we go through different scenarios. Like many times I'll have my customers boards that are here for a specific issue, and I'll use that on the call, like, hey, all right, so I have an iPhone 7 here where the backlight doesn't work, here's how to go about diagnosing and fixing it. You walk through every step, you let them ask questions, so it's a lot more, we're essentially like their mentors in this process. Like we get so many students who like went to the in-person course, and then they get back to their shop and like they totally forget a bunch of information, and then they don't feel confident, and then they just never offer the service, and they just spent $3,000 or whatever on that course that they weren't able to add into their shop. In ours, we're there 90 days virtually, that we could any roadblocks they hit, we could help them over that roadblock, basically.
Yeah. I mean,
So
that's one of the hardest parts for new people, is just diagnosing things.
Because the soldering part, just like taking off a component and putting it back, that's fairly simple. You don't need that much time to kind of get the hang of that, but it's really recognizing some symptoms, and how to, like, once you figure out, like, okay, this is the issue it's having, what I do next. We kind of walk through so many scenarios that helps them get this to click in their head, and start offering the service. Because actually, like, another kind of side of the program is like how to implement this service into your shop and make it a profitable service as well. So not just learning how to solder, but how to talk to your customers about the issue, how to explain to them, like, hey, instead of saying like, yeah, it doesn't work, it's $150 to fix, you kind of have a script, like, oh, so after diagnosing your board, we found this and that, if you'd like to do the repair is this much, would you like to go forward? And then you tell them, you give them like a realistic turnaround time and stuff like that. Because like so many shops like don't know how to price their repairs, or how to pitch the repair. So we help with a lot of that as well, because there's a lot of, it's like a whole new field for students, so they don't know how to approach it, with the customers. Where myself and Ben was the course creator, we've had years of experience,
You guys go a little bit into the business side of things? Yeah,
we actually, so he has two other calls on the business side of things as well. So I do the soldering teaching, he does like the business, what he calls the workflow, setting up staging areas in your shop, checking in phones, what you should check, check the screen, check the charging port, check the battery, check the cameras. Because so many shops, they just take in the phone, they never check it, they do a repair, and then when they turn it on, the cameras don't work, and then now they have to try to figure out, like, did it come in not working, or did we mess it up? And
like, is there some sort of sheet where you're like, go through this checklist before?
There's basically he provides like so many documents that they could just copy paste and reuse in their own business, as far as scripts, checklists, for checking in phones, even things to do when you're hiring a new employee as well. So he kind of goes deep into the repair shop business side of things, of how to set it up, so you're not wasting time doing a bunch of, basically you're not putting out fires nonstop. A lot of these shops, they run into that.
Well, I was actually that was probably my biggest problem when I tried to do it. A couple of years ago at this point, I was trying to start some sort of repair business, maybe kind of like yours, but
Mm-hmm.
also thinking about maybe a shop or something. And what I ended up doing was I went around to different repair shops to try to see if they had any boards and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a few from this one shop. And if I had done that and kind of replicated that, maybe I could have continued it. But the hardest part for me was making things profitable, because I
Mm-hmm.
really liked the idea of a fixed fee no matter what, like, or
Mm-hmm.
like a no fix, no fee type thing. But
Yeah.
I just didn't. I there were certain, whenever one of the shops that I worked with, we just couldn't get the iPhones going. We did a bunch of MacBooks, and
Mm-hmm.
some of those would be so easy, and I would make a ton of money on them. But then
Yeah.
some of them I'd spend like hours
Yeah.
and make the same amount of money, and I was like, this sucks. But it's kind of cool to see how the business
Yeah.
model works.
I think also a lot of techs run into that where they're passionate about fixing stuff, and doesn't matter the business side. They kind of like, I want to fix it, doesn't matter, like for their ego, for their, to be able to show off like, oh, I spent 8 hours on this and finally fix it. But that could be also bad, because if you're not making any money, then then it's not, doesn't make sense. So yeah, I mean that's something I struggled with before, where like I'd had something and then I just was determined to fix it, and
Yeah,
then
you got to
but
know
now,
when to stop.
yeah, now like I do definitely have like a timer in my head where I'm like, what,
No.
this is
Not
not gonna work. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to identify the time waster.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of the problems is letting down the customer, because so many times the customer's like, well, can you see if you could do something? Like they kind of give you like that
Yeah.
sob story, like
Yeah.
and a lot of people have a hard time saying, you know what, no, I can't.
I got one of these phones that this girl brought me was it appeared to have been microwaved. And I don't know
Yeah.
what happened, but like I was walking through it with some of the other techs on one of the groups, and we were like, yeah, there's a short here, there's a short here, and there's a short here, and every main line was shorted. And it was like either they like dropped it in the toilet, or
Yeah.
some people were like, no, that seems like a microwave phone.
Yeah. Yeah. There's actually like a signature when there's a microwave, when all the antennas are burnt, like the Wi-Fi antennas, then it's a microwave, because Wi-Fi and microwaves use the exact same frequency.
Yeah.
So
Like maybe they tried to charge it with the microwave or something.
yeah, there's a lot of like fake Apple announcements about wireless charging and microwaves. And people fall for it. So
yeah, so for me, I found it to be really cool business, but I ended up doing more websites, and I was like, I just had a lot more fun with that, and so that's why I went that way. But I definitely loved the whole physical repairing things. It's super cool.
Yeah, it's very satisfying. Like when you fix something that comes in that you had no idea what the issue was, and then gets up and running, and then the customer is like super happy. It very I guess I don't know how to describe it, but it's satisfying. So definitely like an endorphin rush.
Yeah.
And then when it boots up when it wasn't before.
So what's the weirdest situation? Whether it's something you found in a phone or it's the craziest story.
Let's see, what's the craziest story? Well, this is not iPhone related, but I did have someone bring me a lightsaber to fix.
Wow.
It's like, I don't know, it's like this company makes like these really realistic lightsabers, and they're like $400, and this guy I guess he found me on Yelp. He saw that I do soldering work, and he's like, hey man, I got this lightsaber. Can you fix it? I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I guess maybe I generally like weird. Like I get so many weird requests. Not weird, but just like I had people say their ECU on their car.
Mm.
You know, some capacitors failed, and like they looked up the thing online that it just needs to solder, and you know. So I get people like with random motherboards that reach out to me, but this guy, he was saying how like it just out of warranty, and there's no one really who fixes these, and you know he spent $300 or whatever.
Yeah.
So he brought it by, but fortunately I wasn't able to fix it. The motherboard inside is it's like, since it's a tube, like I guess they epoxied the whole motherboard, so it's like sealed in the black material, like the black rubber type of thing. You know, I wasn't gonna go and try to expose it all, so I just gave up and told them, you know what, it's a cool toy, but I can't fix it.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Some companies do that to, I guess, waterproof them or something.
Yeah. I mean, I guess for shock too. You know, if you're gonna be banging this lightsaber against another one, it should absorb some of that shock. Because actually, what he said he was doing, he had hit. I think he said he had hit a chair, and then just the light went off, and ever since then it just didn't turn off. So who knows? I think that's. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, I have a lot of stories of. Well, another funny one is this guy had just bought a brand new Galaxy S9 Plus, and like he literally bought it and then went on vacation with it to Puerto Rico or something, and so like all his vacation pictures were there, and then I guess it got wet and the phone died, and he needed his data off of it. So yeah, I came in. It was like the whole motherboard was corroded. You know, it was pretty bad, but I managed to fix it enough to turn on and get the data off of it. So he'd asked me like, hey, can you check the camera, the gallery? I just want to make sure, you know, my photos are there. So sure enough, the last video on his gallery was him underwater recording. Like he was doing like the you know, what is it called, snorkeling?
Yeah.
And looking at fishes, and sure enough, he was recording underwater, and then it dies. And I showed him. He's like,
was he using a waterproof case or something? Or
well, I mean the most newer flagship phones are all marketed as waterproof or water resistant. So you know he's like, a brand new phone, it's waterproof, quote unquote. So yeah, he was filming underwater with it. And I sent him, because he had asked me like to check, and I sent him a screenshot of the underwater video. He's like, yep, that was it. That's you know, once it came up and it wasn't turning on, he's like, I knew I screwed up. I'm like, yep, they're not really waterproof. Yeah. But yeah, it's some funny stories out there, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's you run into a lot of funny stuff. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on and sharing some of the stuff about your business and how it works and all that.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's pretty fun. It's my first podcast, so.
Yeah. Well, what would you recommend to someone who, you know, watching this, who wants to start their own repair business? How would you recommend them start?
Yeah, I get this a lot, actually. I think the first thing to do is watch a ton of YouTube videos on whatever you want to learn. So, you know, repairing iPhones. The easiest thing to do is buy broken phones off people. So ask family, friends, you know, on your social media, on your Facebook, Instagram. Just ask if anyone has a broken phone they want to get rid of. You know, buy it, and then just look up online tutorials on how to fix it. Yeah. And then, you know, once you get comfortable, start just posting the repair process on your social media, and then people just start reaching out, and then it just kind of grows from there. Really, I mean, anything that I do, I just post on social media, and people just eat it up. They see, especially if you're like posting nonstop, this whatever you're doing, they start seeing you like as an expert, as an authority in that field, just because you're not constantly reminding them that this is what you do, and you're always, if you stay on top of mind, they'll reach out.
Yeah,
I think that's where you want to start, and then from there you could kind of grow it.
Yeah, cool. So where would you want people to find you? What's your course or whatever you want them to find you?
Yeah, so I think my YouTube channel, probably where I'm posting a lot of videos recently. So look up VCC board repairs. I should be one of the first that pop up, or just look up VCC board repairs on Facebook. I have a Facebook page also that I go live occasionally, doing repairs, or just my website if you do need a repair like this, and vccboardrepair.com.
Alrighty. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, and hope you have a great rest of the day.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.